Oh, O Brahman, O the limitless, O the boundless, O the eternity, lead us in your path, Brahman. O Brahman, O the eternity, lead us in the path which has no fear. O Brahman, give us the strength to shed our karma. O Brahman, lead us in a path which has no doubt in our souls. O Brahman, lead us in a path which has no fear in us. Listening is important. Listening has a lot of significance. You see, what is that Buddha saying is, what is that Buddha saying is that when you are talking, please pay attention to this. The Buddha saying, which is saying, when you are talking, you are repeating everything that you know. When you are talking, you are repeating everything that you know. But if you just learn to listen, you know, if you just learn to be quiet, if you just learn to listen, if you just learn to be quiet for some time while the person is talking. So, first of all, what is talking? Talking is basically a combination of words with the voice which generates from the body, and talking is the combination of the words that you are putting clothes on what you are thinking. This is talking. Well, can you think without the body? That's the question. Of course, that's the mind that you wrap around you. You do not end or you do not finish on the body. You still carry on with or without a body. In body, you have the luxury to dress up your thoughts with the words that we understand talking. When you focus on in a particular moment in time or something, and you have the thoughts and then you dress it up with the words. That's what you understand as talking. But in reality, or in the broadband, remember we talked about the broadband, in the broader scale of things, the ideas are flying in the collecting mind of humanity. When we learn to listen to somebody else. As I said, the ideas, the thoughts, the ideas and thoughts are flying in the collective mind of humanity. And when we learn to listen, a great idea can come from somebody else. Or if our mind, the mind of all humanity, is not trying to make sense out of everything. In other words, if the mind is relatively quiet, you know what I mean? Relatively silent. You know what silent is? I always remind you, shh, this is silent. When the mind is relatively silent, when you have silence not only around you, but the silence within, then a good idea can pop up. Beautiful ideas, beautiful ideas, creative ideas, innovative ideas always come when the mind is relatively quiet. But if the mind is talking, if there is a rage going on within the mind, if there are numerous conversations popping in the mind, if there are arguments basically going on in the mind, then the chances are we wouldn't have an innovative, a creative, or a great idea. So the innovative, creative, and the great idea, and the silence within goes parallel with each other, side by side, you see. So, listening is very important because through in the collective mind of humanity, if we just learn to listen, we may learn something new. That's the Buddhist saying is, excuse me, in the collective mind of humanity, if we learn to listen, if we become quiet when somebody's talking, if we just listen, not only that we want to know what the person is trying to tell us, the communication, but only for the heck of it. You see, nowadays, in the present age, in the present time, we prefer, unfortunately, our psychological drama over listening. You see, as I personally believe, when I focus to humanity, when I come in contact with the beings, when they tell me or they talk to me, when I try to build a conversation or brief talk, even, I realize through a little bit of focus that they are not busy. If you understand what I'm saying, they are not busy, the humans. They are preoccupied, sadly. Humans are not busy, they are preoccupied because they have learned to prefer their psychological drama over listening. They are preoccupied. When you are so preoccupied with your thoughts, you have less patience, unfortunately, with people. When you have less patience with people, listening is not something that you would manifest. You see, that's most of the time is happening in the present age. So, not there is nothing against the technological evolution. There is nothing against um, there is nothing against the scientific evolution, the modern age, the present age that we humans have invented the commodities of luxuries and comfort for our own selves. There's nothing wrong with that. But with the comfort, with the commodities of luxuries, with the different type of inventions, it also comes that we learn to compete with each other. My cousin, my friend, my neighbor has that. So I must have that too. We become a machine to earn the living. And a psychological drama starts in our mind. We are always preoccupied by the thoughts. How can I get this? What can I get out of a situation? Even when the person is talking the entire world. Maybe a great, innovative, creative idea can come from the person. But when we are so preoccupied with the thoughts about the commodities of luxuries, the gadgets, the new gadgets, about the competition, about earning money, about work, we are so heavily, unfortunately, induced with all these thoughts. They are popping all the time. So we have no patience. While the person is talking, our mind is trying to make sense out of things. Our mind is racing in the future, which is an illusion, or our mind is punishing us what has happened in the past. And the person is talking, the person maybe in that moment in time in particular, in that second, the person is saying something which is a great idea that you can use, but since you are so preoccupied that you ignore, unfortunately, not even knowingly, you see, not even on purpose, not even for a reason. This is all conditioning that you have become so preoccupied with the psychological drama. You have become You have become so preoccupied with the psychological drama. You have become so preoccupied with the thoughts in your mind that you have no patience for listening. The more empty your vacuum is, the more patience you have. The more empty your vacuum is, the more patience you have. Please understand that. The more you are not preoccupied with the psychological drama, the more you are not preoccupied with the thoughts of gaining something in return, even in the causation. When the person is talking, even in the conversation, all you can think in that moment in time, all you can think in that particular moment in time, all you can think in that particular second, that what can I get out of this situation? If you understand what I'm saying to you, even when the person is having a conversation with you, talking to you, all you can think, what I can get out of this communication, what I can get out of this conversation, or what the person is saying, instead of paying attention to the person is saying, instead of focusing to what the person is saying. If you focus, you also have one more benefit of that. When you focus, there is a perk that you can know even without thinking what the person intention is. Some, not all, of course, I am a firm believer to believe good in humanity, but there are beings, not all of them, but there are beings around us. They purposely try to hook our attention for no reason towards things, you see. And since we have trained our mind, unfortunately, since the day of the birth, or since the day of our birthday, we have trained our mind, we have been so heavily conditioned that we need to keep thinking something all the time. We need to keep making sense something all the time. So when the person is even talking, we are not there. That's why I firmly believe, unfortunately, that, but if you focus, you see, when the person is talking to you, if you just focus and your vacuum is empty, you can know even the intention of the person after a certain period of time, that why, if somebody is telling me something, what is the motivation behind it? Why is this person telling me what this person is telling me? You see, all that you have, you would know the intention behind a conversation, you would know the intention behind a person, but that only happens when your vacuum is empty, when no thoughts are running either in the future or the thoughts in the past, you see, when the mind is relatively quiet, when the mind is relatively silent, you see, when the mind is relatively quiet and when the mind is relatively silent. So only and only then you can focus, and you can know a lot when the mind is quiet. Listening, as I said, is important. You go to somebody, the person is sitting over there. You see, nowadays you catch yourself in situations like that. Nowadays I catch myself in situations like that. You go to somebody and you say, hey, how are you? You are trying to start a conversation with that person, and the person basically even is not doing anything. If even if the person is not doing anything, just scrolling through social media or scrolling through phone, the messages or any of the memes, it could be any number of things, just to keep themselves occupied for some time, because they cannot handle They have very less patience. They have been conditioned to be occupied by the thoughts. You go to that person and you ask that person, hey, how's it going? And what the answer you are going to get in return, not now, please, not now, I'm busy. You are not busy, you are just preoccupied. If you learn to do just the opposite and to empty your vacuum at least for some time during the day, your life, you would experience that your life becomes easier. You would experience, you would have less, you would have more patience with people. The less cluttered you are, the more patience you have with people. You would have more patience to just to listen for the heck of listening, not somebody's talking and all we can think that what can I get out of the situation? You know what I mean? Excuse me. Remember something, the mind is relatively quiet. The mind is relatively quiet. What happens, remember, every now and then we use a metaphor. Every now and then we use a metaphor of a rubber band ball. And if you remember, as I always tell you, remember the word remember. We use a metaphor of a rubber band ball. And if you remember that how the rubber bands are wrapped around each other, that's how our thoughts, I remind you of the metaphor of rubber band, that's how our thoughts are entangled with each other in a collective mind of humanity. And you can only get a great creative and innovative and new idea when you learn to listen, because an idea, a great idea can come from somebody, or even a great idea can come from within. If there is no raging in within, if there is no raging of thoughts within, if there is no un- if there are no thoughts of getting even, if there are no thoughts about gossips, or if there are no thoughts about what somebody is doing and why they are doing, this is not your drama. You see, you um get rid of, you basically, that's the word, that's the phrase, you basically get rid of the things that we have become only habitual to do. So many things, if we pay focus, if we pay attention, that during the day, so many things that we do out of habit. And I can assure you, thinking is one of them. Thinking is abstract. Thinking is not in the nature. Thinking is something that we learn since the day when we are growing up. You see, we learn to think, and after a certain period of time, the process of thinking becomes automatic. We don't need anybody's help from outside to be miserable. You see what I'm saying? We don't need anyone's help from outside to be miserable. We are doing a phenomenal job, unfortunately and sadly, to ourselves, because we are always occupied. We have no patience to listen. And then we say that we are not happy. You see, how are we going to be happy when we are being so miserable by our own thought process? How are we going to be happy when we are going to be so miserable by our psychological drama? So get rid of the thinking, get rid of the nasty habits that we have learned during the day to perform. Just keep yourself light and keep yourself empty, and you would see phenomenal results. You would see life would become so easier for you, that you would feel like that you are not even putting any efforts and everything is just falling in together for you in your favor. So please ponder what I said, the significance of listening, that how important is listening. You see, um the reason I said that, because I the reason today I have chosen this topic or retreat or deliver this message, because I see humans preoccupied but not busy. Not busy at all in any type of existential reality, but only the reality which exists in their mind. Existential reality is the reality for everybody that everybody experiences, but the reality, abstract reality, which does not exist anywhere but in our memory, is the reality here. Most humans are not functioning, as I am saying, most most humans are not functioning in the existential reality. Existential reality is the reality for everybody. Existential reality is the reality of what God has created, the reality of sacred, which everybody experience in the same time. Most humans are not, unfortunately, functioning in the existential reality. They are functioning in the abstract reality. Their reality is only for them, because their reality resides here. You see here that reality resides here, and they are so preoccupied. So I decided to speak about this particular problem, which has spread in not only in this society but every society throughout the globe. So I wanted to bring some clarity. So I wanted to shed some light on the significance of listening. Listening not only the person who is talking to you, just listen for the heck of it. Do not expect anything in return, that if I listen to this person, what I am going to get in return, what kind of pleasure, what kind of monetary gain, what kind of benefit I can get in return. Do not attach yourself with the result. Do not attach yourself with the reward. So learn to do things without reason. Learn to do things for the heck of it. And listening is one of them. Learn to listen and see that you would find that you feel more innovative, you feel more creative when you learn to listen, you see, and keep the chattering box within rather silent or quiet. And how you achieve that? You achieve that through Kriya Yoga. You achieve that through Kriya meditation by making some time for ourselves. Ponder what I said. Maybe pay attention to what I said to you. If you have any confusions, write me. I always encourage you to write me. If you have any um, questions, if you have any comments or even critic, write me. Please, I appreciate your response, but learn to listen. Take the things that we do habitually every day during the day and they have no purpose, they serve no purpose, out from you, and adopt the things which serve a purpose. You see, make them a good habit. Make listening a habit of yours too. You see, make listening a habit of yours too. Just quiet for some time and listen when the person is talking and just focus on it.